In the last episode, we talked about the Neolithic base and also touched upon how this connects to modernity as well and some modern phenomena. And within this video, we're going to go deeper into the animistic hunting rituals and cave rituals that form the foundation for the later Choreos and Archaea rites of passage. So, in many hunter-gatherer societies, hunting was considered a sacred and magical activity, and animal spirits were often revered as powerful beings that could help or harm hunters. The figure was often known as a mistress of the beasts in the most archaic sense, but often also linked to the ideas of sovereignty, especially linked to the domain of nature, which is also a common symbol in animistic cultures, representing the deep connection between humans, animals, and the natural world. And hunting has been a fundamental activity in the lives of many early animistic cultures. It was not just a means of sustenance, but also a spiritual and symbolic act. These societies recognized the deeper interdependence between humans and animals and the sacredness of taking an animal's life for survival. So hunting was not only a physical task, but also a ritual where one had to honor the spirits of the animals and the forces of nature. The Mistress of the Beasts played then also an important role within this. She is often depicted as a woman who possesses the power to communicate with and influence the animal world. She's seen as a guardian of the animal spirits, or even the mother of the animals, and a mediator between the human and animal realms. In animistic cultures, the Mistress of the Beasts embodies in that sense the belief that animals are not just resources but sentient beings with their own spirits. And she is both a nurturer and a huntress, representing the duality of the human-animal relationship, where her role is to ensure the success of the hunt, maintain harmony with nature, and guide hunters in their hunt. Figures that play such a role that are well known would be the Greek Artemis and the Roman Diana. Lesser known ones would be the Germanic figure Holda, the Celtic Artio, and also the Finnish Mielikki, often linked to sacred groves, sacred lakes, and bear sanctuaries. And in animistic cultures, luck also plays a significant role in hunting as well. Because luck was not a mere chance event for them, but a concept deeply intertwined with the Mistress of the Beasts. So luck in hunting was the result of spiritual alignment, proper rituals, and respect for the animal spirits. Hunters would perform rituals, make offerings, and seek the favor of the Mistress of the Beasts to ensure a successful hunt. In that sense, she embodies respect for nature, the acknowledgement of the hunt as a sacred act, and the idea that success depends on more than just physical skills. Luck, in this context, is the outcome of a harmonious relationship with the animal spirits and the natural world. In that sense, luck was believed to flow from the spiritual world into the physical realm, guiding hunters to the right prey and places. And as societies shifted towards agriculture and animal husbandry, these traditions of hunting magic began to evolve into more general forms of shamanism and animism, depending on the culture, where spirits were seen as existing in all aspects of the natural world. However, in many cases, the connection between hunting and warfare remains strong, as both involve the use of weapons and physical prowess. So in many cultures, the male deities associated with hunting or the wilderness gradually became associated with war and battle as well. For example, in the Roman tradition, Mars was originally a god of agriculture and fertility, but came to be associated with war and the military as well. Similarly, in Norse mythology, the god Odin was associated with both hunting and warfare, and the berserkers. These were fierce warriors who wore wolfskins and fought with a frenzied fury. If we think about the Ulfhetnar, and they were seen as embodying the wild animalistic spirit of the hunt. The chorus tradition, we will be going deeper into later within the book/series, in that sense also takes this older hunter-gatherer way of life, involving animal shamans who used hunting magic to a more martial context. This is because over time, these older traditions became placed into the context of herding societies, where hunting magic gradually became war magic. And originally, the deities before that were most likely spirits of locations and of nature. And the old hunting-related spirits and great hunters becoming slowly martial deities. Overall, the link between hunting and warfare is a common thread that runs through many different cultural traditions, and is often reflected in the myths and legends of the deities and heroes that are associated with these activities. Where another important aspect of both hunting rituals and the later warrior initiation rituals are musical instruments, such as the horn and the drum. The blowing horn, typically made from or resembling an animal horn, has a rich history also connected to hunting. In the case of the original Greek aulos, it was crafted from the horn of a stag. Both horns and drums served various functions in early societies as well, particularly those engaged in cattle raising, agriculture, and hunter-gatherer activities. The aulos, by the way, being a double flute. And the earliest versions of the horns were constructed from the horns of goats and combined with wood. In regions like Scandinavia, where large horned animals were relatively scarce, blowing horns were often fashioned from wood, including birch bark. And these horns initially found their purpose in Neolithic settings, where they were used for communication during hunts. Over time, they also gained martial applications, becoming versatile instruments in these societies. So both drums and horns also being generally used for long-distance communication next to ritualistic aspects. A good example of these would be the Neolithic cave rituals. But they also used them in feasts and festivals in honor of different animal spirits or deities, such as a feast in honor of a hunting-related deity or for the Mistress of the Beast. From a Jungian lens, these type of instruments symbolize a connection to animal instincts, which reflects the primal instinctual aspect of the human psyche. So these instruments and their use for communication during hunts and martial applications could be seen as a way for people to tap into and express their inner animalistic energies. And these caves, as we are well aware, contain artwork that often portrays local wildlife confronting the local hunters, which has been interpreted as a type of hunting magic. Some cave paintings also seem to depict adolescent initiation rites and dance rituals, early shamanism, and flute playing. Hunter-gatherer cave ritual dances were an important aspect of shamanic practices in many cultures, and these dances were often performed in sacred caves or other natural settings and were used to connect with the spirits and energies of the natural world. And these paintings are thus not mere depictions, but represent the archetypal experiences and symbols related to hunting, survival, and initiation into adulthood. Where the dances and rituals performed in sacred caves, accompanied by rhythmic music, served as a means to connect with the deeper energies of the natural world. From a Jungian lens, this represents the individuation process, or the journey towards self-realization. Caves themselves were seen as passages into the underworld by Indo-European cultures, such as the Romans, for instance. Within these caves, then also death and rebirth type rituals would take place. This is also the case within the more Neolithic context as well, where going through the narrow cave passage into the bigger inner cavern symbolized such a death and rebirth of the psyche and a reconnection with the inner world and the deeper aspects of the psyche. A symbolic second birth, especially linked to instinct and the more fertile aspects, so the inner vitality of the self. Dances were also often an important part of this. And these dances were often accompanied by rhythmic drumming or other forms of music and were performed in a group setting, with drums made from materials such as animal skins, wood, or gourds, where other percussion instruments such as rattles or clapping sticks may also have been used. And in some cultures, wind instruments such as flutes or horns were also used, along with stringed instruments like the lute or harp in way later times. which is more pagan times. And these instruments were often made from natural materials, such as wood or animal bones. And the shaman, or a priest figure, would often lead the dance, and the dancers would follow in a trance-like state, moving their bodies in a ritualized manner, where later warrior traditions such as the Corybantes also did such ecstatic practices. In shamanic practices, shamans often enter altered states of consciousness or trance states, and these states can be induced through various methods, including rhythmic drumming, chanting, dancing, or the use of psychoactive substances. Next to death and rebirth rituals, which were common, shamans and other similar spiritual figures played a role within other rituals as a bridge between the spirit world and the tribe. Trance allows the shaman, to journey to the spirit world and communicate with spirits, ancestors, and other entities. And shamans used various tools and objects during their practices. These may include drums made from animal skins, rattles, and other percussion instruments. The rhythm and sounds produced by these instruments play a significant role in inducing trance states. Where shamans act as intermediaries between the human world and the spirit world. So they communicate with spirits to seek guidance, healing, or insight. And the nature of communication, can vary from receiving visions to direct conversations with spirits. These often also became totems for the tribe and revered spirits or later even deities that they worked with, thus also forming both a deep connection with nature as well. And the cave rituals and shamanic practices of hunter-gatherer cultures are believed to date back tens of thousands of years, with evidence of ritual activity found in cave paintings and other archaeological sites as far back as the Upper Paleolithic era, so 40,000 to 10,000 BC. This period spans the last cycle of the Ice Age, where the currently accepted interpretation of such art contends that the majority of the cave images are manifestations of shamanic ritual mediated through visionary experience in altered states of consciousness, where the dances were often focused on specific intentions, such as seeking the cooperation of the spirits in a hunt or connecting with the energies of the land for fertility and abundance. The movements and gestures of the dance were believed to have symbolic meanings and were often related to the qualities and powers of the animals or other spirits being invoked. For example, the hunting dance involved mimicking animal movements to ensure a successful hunt. Dances may also be part of initiation rites connecting participants with the spirit world as well. They often serve not only as spiritual practices but also as a communal bonding experience. So ritual dances strengthened the social fabric and reinforced cultural identity. In many cultures, the dances were also accompanied by the use of psychoactive plants, which were believed to enhance the shamanic trance and allow for a deeper connection with the spirits, even though sometimes they just used, instruments instead. And these plants, mushrooms, and fungi were often used in a ceremonial context and were seen as sacred tools for accessing the spiritual realm, where in the context of hunting magic, shamanic trance was often used to connect with animals and to seek their cooperation in the hunt. The shaman would enter into a trance state and communicate with the spirits of the animals, asking for their help in providing food for the tribe. And this was often done through the use of animal totems, which were seen as representing the qualities and powers of the animals and which could be invoked through shamanic practices. Where fertility rites were also an important part of hunter-gatherer cave rituals as well, as these were closely connected to the cycles of nature and the animals. These rites were often focused on the worship of the goddess or feminine principle, and involved offerings and sacrifices to ensure the fertility of the land and the animals. So the shaman would enter into a trance state and connect with the spirits of the land and the animals, asking for their help in ensuring fertility and abundance. These ancient elements, such as music, trance, fertility, and dances, also find their expression in the later Choreos and Octea traditions as well, that we will be talking about later within this series. And an important factor with both the cave rituals and these later rites also being totems. These rituals and totems connected them with the core of their being and also facilitated death and rebirth rites. That from a Jungian lens helped them with a symbolic psychological rebirth of the personality, if their psyche became disconnected from their instinctual and archetypal foundations, next to being a maturation rite and second birth into adulthood.